Hi there, welcome to the archives. This was not scripted or planned. I just wanted to come and do a quick video because something came up. What is going on? Hey there, welcome to the archives. This was not planned or scripted, so it's gonna be really quickly. I have to go in 15 minutes. I saw a post today on LinkedIn. Somebody I was connected with and part of the Black Women's Travel Network had commented on someone else's post on handwriting and how therapeutic handwriting is, and that science has proven that it's good for you and all of that. And I think it's great as somebody who, as a writer who often does a lot of my writing on pen and paper, as somebody who uses writing for therapy. I journal a lot. I've been journaling since I was in the 9th grade, I think it was. And ever since then, even way before, I remember being in the 2nd grade and laying on my bed and looking at the ceiling and feeling like someone was watching me. I don't know. I think a lot of us have that feeling that we're being watched, this sense of paranoia. I've had that since my earliest recollection was when I came to Canada as a little girl. I was in 2nd grade. It was soon after my first communion, and I remember laying on the bed and looking up at the ceiling and feeling like God was watching me as a little girl. And I come from a family of a lot of different politicians, and I remember later on, maybe in the 4th or 5th grade, I had that feeling as well too. And I had just had a conversation with my father around like election times or something like that, and the oppositions just the message was always be on your good behavior because the opposition is always watching you and going to use different things against you. Like, I've always had that programming since I was a little girl, just because I grew up in a family with a lot of different politicians. And so that's something that I've been hyper aware of since I was in elementary school, was always be on your best behavior. Somebody's always watching you. Specifically, the opposition party is always watching you, ready to use your bad behavior against you. And then even before that, I always felt like God was watching me. So how does this connect to the post I saw this morning? I saw the post was talking about handwriting, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I'm here to tell us that the future might not be as bright as we think it is. See what I did there? The Canadians might get it. It's not that funny. It's actually a terrible joke. But I wanted us to consider that for some of us, or for many more people in the future, writing on pen and paper, writing in journals, writing on scrap paper, more and more is going to be akin to posting something online, virtually or publicly. And I want us to consider that. That might be something that, like, people are like, that would never happen. How is that possible? I told my father in 2015 that some of these things were happening to me, and he was like, there's no way technology works that way. I didn't think so either. But my intuition says otherwise. And so I want us to consider that, especially in the wake of Roe versus Wade being struck down, with all of these abortion bans. Who knows what else is going to be banned in the future. But I just wanted to flag that we have to consider what it is that we're writing on pen and paper and how that might be used against us. I saw recently, as most of you did, that Facebook was giving away data for around the abortion issue. And what would that look like in a dystopian future where it's not just tech companies that are giving away virtual data, but what if the things that you were writing down on pen and paper? What are the therapy sessions you were writing down on paper? Like, think about these things. It's horrifying. To me, it's very horrifying. Like, it is a abuse of power. It's the next level domination and control. Like, why you would want to control that? But consider that, right? And not just even our government. What if abusive partners? Thinking about folks in shelters, technology, having to leave your cell phone or laptops outside, so as to not get tracked or traced. What would that look like if just things that you were writing on pen and paper, thinking that you are being cautious and avoiding any traces, but then that is being tracked by your partner? What if there's abusive parents who want to know what their kids are doing? Not even just, excuse me, the helicopter parents, nosy parents who want to know what their kids are doing. That I've always, since I was in ninth grade, I always wondered if my mom was reading my journal. And to this day, I would set traps. I would like specifically write certain things and then see if her behavior would change. I still do that as an adult. Maybe that's my neurodivergent in me. I assume that's what most people would do, right? You want to know if somebody is reading your journal. What's the best way to figure that out? You start talking shit, or you do something that's out of character. You say something you normally wouldn't. You poke the bear, and then you see if their behavior changes. That's how my mind worked. That's got me in a lot of trouble. People will deny that these things are happening, and then all of a sudden be like, this is her character. It's like, that's not my character, you idiot. But now we know. It's 6 minutes. All I wanted to say is be careful of what it is that you're writing. I just wrote yesterday morning. I've been trying to avoid what I write in my journals, because anytime I write in my journal, I always feel a lot of energy, especially with them doing like therapy sessions or working through childhood traumas or talking about family stuff. I feel a lot. I'm really connected with my family in like an energetic kind of a way. So I feel a lot of like disdain or that kind of energy. That's how I know whether it's real or not. That might be paranoia. I've had doctors tell me it's paranoia. Perhaps it's paranoia. It could also be gaslighting. So that's all I wanted to say is be careful what it is that you're writing in your journal. Obviously, especially around abortion, because maybe I'm just being like a Dorothy Downer here, but I'm always trying to forecast the future. Best case scenario, worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is all of a sudden your journals are going to be used against you. They can already be subpoenaed. I've seen cases where people's journals, there's an academic whose journal was subpoenaed. That's not out of the norm. That's not nothing new. I saw a Twitter post about like COINTELPRO and the FBI tracking Black activists in the States. That's not new. Wiretapping is not new. We know that these things happen, but I think the general assumption is that people who are heavily surveillance, there's a reason for them to be heavily surveillance. We think that they're criminals, or as Sarah Ahmed says, the activist is always seen as a terrorist, right? And so it's like, well, they're terrorists, or there's a whole bunch of reasons why we think that people deserve to be surveillance heavily, and that it will never be us. And that has always been a little bit weird to me, because again, like I was saying, ever since I was a little girl, whether it was warranted or not, whether it was paranoia or not, I always just assumed that it could always happen to me. I don't know who we think we are to think that like we are above certain things happening to us. I wrote an article earlier on this year talking about, remember back in the days, and I think it was 2018, when women in Korea were protesting surveillance in the washrooms. I'm not sure why, like in Canada, we didn't think that that would be something that would ever happen to us. Like, why, as a Canadian woman, do I think that going to a public bathroom, I would never be surveillance? Like, it's just weird to me that we, like, who we think is deserving of these things, or because of our citizenship or our race or our class, that we're exempt from some of these things, and it doesn't make sense. And I think in the future, the lines are going to be very blurred, right? I was watching the Most Hated Man on the Internet on Netflix, and he was just posting folks' nudes, and that wasn't just things people were submitting. There was hacking going on. They were hacking into people's emails and getting their photos and posting it online. Like, again, why anybody would think that that would never happen to them is really naive. And I tended to be naive, and I learned the hard way. So it's almost 10 minutes. That's all I wanted to share. Be mindful of what you're posting online, but also be mindful of what you're writing in your private journals, papers, wherever, because it can and will be used against you. All right. Until next time, it's all day.